Hey everybody, this is Johnny here, and today I'm going to talk about my 7 favorite teaching tips to make sure that your classes add up to 25 minutes. So, when we're teaching, it's important that our classes aren't over or under 25 minutes. If they're over 25 minutes, it can give the students and their parents sort of the false impression that our classes can be longer than 25 minutes, which isn't the case. And of course, if it's under 25 minutes, the students aren't getting the full value of what they paid for. Like they paid for 25 minutes, and if they get 22 minutes, of course, they're not getting what they paid for, and the teacher gets penalized, and it's just not good for everybody. So let's try our best to make sure that our classes add up to 25 minutes. Okay, so we'll start with my teaching tip number 1. Keep a stopwatch or a stop clock next to you. So when you're teaching, I like to keep a clock timed for 25 minutes next to my computer, and then that way I'm always kind of keeping track of time. I can look at it whenever I need to and see how far through the lesson I am, make sure I'm using the right amount of time for each section, and then that way I'm pacing myself correctly, and I know when the class is going to stop, how much time I have left, and I'm always kind of ending as close to 25 minutes as possible. Number 2. Make sure that you follow the lesson plan. So we have lesson plans available for you online, written out, and if you look at those, it gives you each section for that lesson that you're teaching, and it also has an allocated amount of time for each section. So you want to look at those and try to match the section with the amount of time as closely as possible. So for a title page, it might be 1 minute, and you want to make sure that you're spending that 1 minute. You might go a little bit over. You might do 1 minute, 10 seconds, or a little bit under. And if that's the case, you have to compensate in the later sections. So try to stretch out those later sections or keep them a little bit shorter. Number 3, try to use some props during your classes. The props are a good way to kind of entertain the kids a bit, keep things interesting, and use some visuals to get the students talking. So for example, here I have an elephant. And elephant's great because you can sort of talk about different things, like what are these? Oh, they're ears. Are they big or small? They're small ears. What color is the elephant? What's his nose like? Oh, it's so long. Just get the students talking about different things. It's sort of some extra content that you can bring in, and if you're in need, you can reach for those and use them to kind of supplement your class. So here we have a bird. What can the bird do? The bird can fly. What noise does a bird make? Kids love little things like this, keeps them entertained, and gets them talking. So it's a great way to add some extra content to your class. Okay, my 4th tip is if you get to the end of your class and you realize you got, maybe 3-4 extra minutes left, don't panic. What you can do is always go back. So one of the best sections to go back to, of course, is the new words. So this will kind of consolidate what they've learned, recycle the information again, and get them thinking about the new words that they just went over. So say you've just finished the final game, you get to the end page here, and then you can always just click on the drop-down menu and go from this page back to the new words. And then maybe you want to go through the new words again with them one more time. So we're going to go movie, and then the students repeat movie, so on and so forth. Or maybe this time you want to challenge the students a bit. So you want to get them to use the new words in a sentence or ask a question using the new words, such as what's your favorite movie? When do you watch cartoons? Do you like to eat yogurt? What kind of soup do you like? These are all ways that you can sort of recycle what we've used before, just kind of spin it in a different way. That way the students get a full class. All right, teaching tip number 5. So moving on. Teaching tip number 5, we can annotate. So we can go to a section. One of the better sections to do this in would be the story section or the sentence structure section. So we can look at these sections and we can take a sentence, and instead of using the sentence that they've provided us with, we can change it up a bit. So maybe we want to use our pen and we're going to scribble out a sentence here. So we're going to say this sentence, we're going to scribble out a word. Get rid of that word, and then the students now have to put in a new word in that section. So here it says, do you like to watch movies, Ola? And we're going to tell the students, okay, let's not use movies. Let's do a new word. So the students have to say, do you like to watch cartoons? And then maybe you want to switch the name too. So now we're going to get them to ask another student. So do you like to watch cartoons, Mary? Direct the question at a different student. That way they're practicing the text. They're just swapping some words. And that way we can recycle what's in front of us and use it again and again and again. And so then with the response too, maybe we want to scribble out this word. So when they reply, the student can say, no, I don't. I like to watch, and then we can say something else. Action movies. I like to watch my parents dance. Anything like that. So yeah, we can do that with the story section, and we can also do that with the sentence structure section, or the language structure. So if we take a look at the language structure here, we open that up, we get the texts down by clicking on the bubbles, and then we get our pen again, and do you like to eat? And then this time we're going to switch it up. So we don't want to talk about yogurt this time. Instead, we want to use a new word. So maybe you want to draw a line here so the students know that that's blank. And then we're going to get them to ask a new question. Do you like to eat? And then they have to say chocolate or something like that. And then we can get the students to reply as well. So we just alternate students and get them all to use this sentence structure again. That way we're going back, we're using it again, and the students are spending more time practicing, which is great. We want to get the students talking as much as possible. And this isn't necessarily something you have to do at the end. So this brings me to my teaching tip number 6, which is we can do this at any part of the lesson. So it doesn't have to necessarily be something that we do at the very end. Maybe as you're going through it, you want to do this. That way we're sort of beefing up each section, and we're recycling what we have in front of us, and we're getting the students to use repetition to practice this over and over again. Repetition is very important when students are learning a new language. If they hear it one time, it's easier for them to forget. But if they hear it again and again and again, it sort of drives it into their memory, and that way they're more likely to retain the information. So for this one, do you like to eat? And we can switch it up again. Maybe we want to use a different picture. So we move on to the next one. And what do we have here? Let's get rid of our drawing. Do you like to eat soup? So that's a pretty similar one to before, but now we have a different response. No, I don't. I like to. So maybe we want to get the students to talk about what they prefer to eat. So they don't like to eat soup, but I want to know what you prefer to eat instead of soup. So I'll cross that out and make a line there so the students know that they have to put in a new answer there. So I'd ask one of the students, hey, do you like to eat soup? And then I'll make sure that they read this part. No, I don't. I like to eat. And then we'll wait for their reply. And then I'll get another student to ask this question. And then a different student will respond. So that way I'm alternating students. I'm not doing all the talking. I'm just there to sort of guide the students and make sure that they're doing most of the discussion on their own. This isn't always possible with all levels. You might have to simplify it, but with the more advanced students, this should be an easy activity for them to do, and you should be able to conduct this in your classes, no problem. It's a great way to use time up and make sure that the students are using it repetitively and that you're making your classes long enough. Finally, for my final number 7 teaching tip to make sure your classes add up to 25 minutes, I recommend you just try to encourage dialogue. So encourage class discussions. We don't want the classes just to be question, answer, question, answer. We want students to kind of be talking, and if they can share their ideas, that's even better. So different sections sort of facilitate this better. For me, I like to use the About You section to kind of get the students talking about themselves. So you can see here we have, do you like to eat yogurt? Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. I like to eat salad. What about you? So I'll throw that question. What about you at another student? And then they'll reply. And then I might want to ask them some other questions to sort of expand on this topic, if possible. Or I'll get them to ask the other students some questions. That way, they're kind of creating a conversation and they're getting it going. And sometimes the conversations need a little nudge. So you might want to put in your own 2 cents and say, hey guys, what do you think about this? Or do you guys want to talk about that? And sort of just encourage the conversation and foster a healthy dialogue so that the students are using the target language. Make sure they're not going too off topic and that they're using the sentence structures that we're teaching them and to get them talking. So anyways, those are some of my top 7 teaching tips. If you guys have any of your own, please share them to YouTube or to Facebook. We'd love to hear about them. But once again, let's always try to make sure our classes add up to 25 minutes, and that way we'll have no problems and everybody will be happy. Great. Thanks.